Ooh, ooh, ooh. Ladies, gentlemen, gamers, welcome back. We have another reactionary content video for one of my favorite games, if it was opposite day, Genshin Impact. And obviously that's a joke. I do like Genshin. Well, I'm sick enough and I liked it at some point enough to where I'm still stuck here with FOMO and with sunk cost fallacy. But we're here to make another Genshin reaction video. So apparently, banning TikTok wasn't enough for our government, and now they're going even further. So because there's other stuff that is Chinese based in America, namely video games, because Tencent seems to own everything, they're also going after the gacha system. No fucking way. And this is where I don't really know what's about to happen, but they're getting fined, and, you know, as the title says, which you guys can't really read fully, gacha system will be facing major changes. This is where, obviously, Hoyo wants to operate in the US, even if it's going to be a little different. And even in China, I heard, now I'm not on Red Note, so I don't know for sure, but I heard allegedly that, you know, number one, the social credit system is a lie. But number two, that they can't nerf characters after they release, because that's against the law. I guess false advertising or whatnot. But they have a lot of different rules in China from what they have in the US, because that's just how it works. Sadly, they're not going to choose the TikTok version of, okay, we're just going, you know, silently, we're out. They're going to probably comply because they want money. So this is where we're going to see what's going to happen here. But I think this is a little cosmic karma, personally, for just how bad Genshin is. And, you know, to address all the haters out there, listen, all the changes I say and all the things for Genshin I say are in the best of intentions. And it's really just to make the game better for all of us. Not just for the pay-to-win whales, not just for the free-to-play Andes. The changes I always argue that Genshin simply does not do, which they've done in their other games, I want them done to help us. So this is partly coming from a place of hate, but also partly because, you know, I want the game to be better because I still fucking play the game. Although I don't want to because of things they're doing. By the way, let's check out what's happening from Raiden Shogun herself. Let's take a look.
Have you heard the news?
No.
Genshin Impact's developer, Hoyoverse, has been hit with a massive $20 million fine by the FTC.
Losers.
And they're now facing some major
You know what's ironic? $20 million is light. Like, that's actually really light for the pure fact that that's, like, basically their monthly allowance. And it's not even that, too, on some months. On some months, they make way more than that. That's like a casual month for Genshin. So for all of Hoyo, that's like a drop in the bucket.
Restrictions on how they handle loot boxes, or something we players know better as gacha.
So it's ironic. I never thought of this as a loot box, but it's basically the same premise. Because you're rolling for something with odds. So it's basically gambling. You know, as long as it's gambling, it's loot boxes.
This could mean some big changes.
And they're showing Malvika too, which is the worst fucking banner in existence. And ironically enough, I'm going to roll for Malvika later on today, so make sure you watch that live at twitch.tv/Tecnics channel, or here if you miss it on YouTube.
To the game's future, and I wanted to break it all down for you.
Thank you, Raiden
In
Shogun.
today's video, we'll dive into why this happened,
Why?
how it affects us as players,
It better be good.
and what it could mean for the gacha system in Genshin and beyond.
So I wonder if this is going to bleed into their other games like Star Rail and Zenless, but it probably will because those games are also in the US too, although Genshin is probably the biggest. But the main concern I have is this going to be better for us? I think yes, but knowing Genshin, it could be a no. They could just make it even more predatory. I don't know how. Maybe they just like increase like how much pity you need or something. I don't know. But the main thing the US always does is they say two things. If you include something in a bundle, you cannot have it just be in a bundle. You have to have it be purchasable on its own. They did the same thing with Overwatch. Overwatch had this where you can only buy things in bundles, and the FTC came in and basically fucked their ass and said, no, the players have to be able to buy it individually if they want to. That's not to say we can't get a sale with the bundle. That's not to say that at all. But you have to be able to get said thing on its own. And obviously in Genshin, where this applies is the banners, right? The biggest thing is the weapon banner. The weapon banner is absolutely fucking abysmal because it's two weapons combined. So you really need to go like do the whole fate point system, which all their other games don't fucking have because they're not stupid. But regardless, this is where there's no way. Like if this happens, I'll be shocked, right? And they're probably going to punish us in some way. But there's no way you can outright buy the characters. obviously, the only like middle ground I could see is in the shop for the currency you get when you wish. I forgot what the currency is called. But in that currency shop, they might start adding the limited 5 stars. Because I believe on other games, especially I believe Wuthering too, ironically enough, they offer one of the constellations for those characters. So it's kind of like a middle ground in Wuthering where you can't get the character, but you can get their constellation, I believe, from it. I could be wrong though. I haven't played Wuthering since release. But I can imagine the only middle ground, possibly realistically, and I could be wrong, is them adding the characters to the currency shop that you get from Wishing. But that would be insane. And it would be expensive as shit.
Whether you're a casual player or someone who pulls on every banner,
Me.
this is something you won't want to miss.
Oh, I'm
So,
sure.
let's get into it. On January 17th,
Huh?
the FTC
That's today.
announced that Hoyoverse would pay a
Wait, no, that was
$20
yesterday.
million fine and face new restrictions.
I
on
love
selling
how
loot
Raiden
boxes
Shogun
to
just
kids
uses the
under
chibis, by the
16
way.
without parental consent.
Ooh, looking for
This
Rita
all
yelling at
started
him.
because of allegations that Hoyoverse
Allegations?
misled players, especially children, about the real costs and odds of pulling rare 5-star characters.
So this is where I don't really understand how you could mislead someone when it's not even there to begin with, right? The main thing with Hoyo is they don't tell you how much it's going to cost to get a 5-star because it is so variable. They don't let you know. Oh, hold on. We got a little guest here. Oh, Hitora. Nah, I'm not. Anyway, back to business here. This is where they don't really tell you the odds of anything because it's really variable, right? So it can cost you $10. It could cost you nothing if you're free to play and you save for like God knows how long. Or it can cost you, I forgot how much it is at max, but because I always go by rolls and I've never bought anything in these shits besides the Welkin. So it can really be a variable cost, but they don't really put that out there. Now, the things that they do put out there and they should put out there are the odds. And they do put it out there, but as fans have tested, as we know, and this is where they don't even really like say this either, because the fans know the real system with high degree of accuracy through testing. They say the odds are 0.6, and then they have some weird ass odd where it's like, oh, including the pity, it's actually this. No one fucking understands that shit. It doesn't really matter. We're not mathematicians. But the biggest thing is it's 0.6 until 70-ish, and then after 70 it goes up. But the fact that they don't list that is kind of misleading, because after 70 it could influence people to buy a certain amount. Now, that's in, I think, fringe cases, but maybe not so much because this game makes so much money from people. But it is technically misleading, so I could see them doing something about that.
If you've ever wished on a banner only to feel like you were throwing money into a bottomless pit,
Which
you
I
know
wasn't.
exactly what they're talking
I was throwing
about.
wishes, not
But
money.
here's the kicker. The FTC says the system...
Oh no, look, there it is. So it's 0.6, and then the consolidated probably, including guarantee, is 1.6. I don't know how that's possible. I think they're just averaging it throughout all the wishes, but it's not true, because from 80 to 90 it's extremely high of a chance where you're probably not even going to hit 90. You're going to get it in between like 75 and 80 most likely, because the way the probability works, it's a ramping probability, which again, they don't tell you. They're lying. This is literally lying, which is technically false advertising.
Specifically designed to confuse players with virtual currencies and
every fucking game does that. They're going after China because they hate China for that, but every fucking game does that.
Exchange rates, making it hard to know how much you were actually...
You know what game is really terrible with it? And it's ironically enough another Chinese-made game, believe it or not. Marvel Rivals. Marvel Rivals has like 3 different currencies. They have the purple one, the blue one, and then the lattice, which is the gold one. And it's like, why are there this many currencies? Because they're trying to confuse you.
Spending. On top of that, they violated the Children's Online Privacy Protection Act by collecting data from kids under 13 without parental consent.
You have to get
So
your parents' consent to
GACHA.
play
It was
Genshin.
about how they
Imagine
marketed
that.
it and handled player data.
Oh, look at
As part of
Kale.
the
Kale's
settlement,
confused and
Hoyoverse
upset.
now has to make some major adjustments. No
Let's
loot
see.
boxes without parental consent for teens.
So here's the question. Unless they're going to require like ID or something, how the fuck is this going to get enforced? Is there just going to be a checkbox saying, hey, if you're a parent, you understand your kid's gambling? Like, is that it?
Teens under 16. If a player under 16 wants to pull on a banner, they'll need their parents' permission.
So it's probably something you just check marks saying like, oh yeah, I told my parent, or oh yeah, a parent agreed. Or like if you're a parent, they're like, oh yeah, click this. realistically, this is just like an added step just to cover their asses. This isn't really going to change anything, except for the parents who actually care about their children and read. Because once parents read, they're going to be like, no, this is stupid. Don't get addicted to gambling.
This could make it harder for younger players to participate
Good.
in gacha events altogether.
Very good.
One of the big complaints was how confusing it was to figure out what you were actually spending.
Huh?
Now they'll have to offer a direct real money purchase option alongside
wow.
bundles.
Wow.
Ever feel like your luck is worse than
wow. Okay. So how much are they gonna offer the fucking characters? And they have to offer the weapons now too. So again, the only way I could see this is if they do it with like the reserve currency shop, but maybe they might just have it outright with just straight money. It has to be at least 200. It has to. There's no way. Whatever it is, if it's the currency or whatever, it has to be the equivalent of at least $200. There's no fucking way.
Advertised, Hoyoverse will now be required to clearly show the real odds of pulling
the
specific
real
characters
odds.
or
Let's go.
These changes aim to make the gacha system less predatory
Good.
and more straightforward.
I mean, listen, less predatory. It's not going to be that much less predatory if you know you're getting fucked. Because realistically speaking, right? Let's just say the real rate is like 0.5 instead of 0.6. We all know as gacha players, it's low as shit. We all pretty much know we're pretty much not going to get it. Now, there's people like me who would like to know the more specifics, but at the end of the day, it's abysmally low. Like, it is abysmally low. We just because we might be a little bit off with the numbers, we know how low it really is. So it's like, I don't think it's going to make it less predatory because the thing they're preying on is some mental thing that people have with gambling, which it doesn't matter if you tell them the rates. Just from telling someone, hey, you might get something, I think a lot of people just will try for it. I don't think this is going to make it less predatory.
Let's be honest.
Not to say they don't need to do it.
One of the most frustrating parts of Genshin Impact's gacha system is trying to figure out how close you are to hitting pity.
Yes. Oh my god. Wait, does this mean they're going to do a Zenless and they're going to add like a pity counter? Because this is where you could do the hard work, but they can always argue, oh, that's too hard and kids aren't going to do that, which at that point you can argue, well, people are just lazy. But it goes past a certain point. This is where, again, I don't understand how Zenless has it, and even Star Rail, I gotta ding them too. Star Rail should have this, Genshin should have this, all gacha should have this, where in the bottom right corner they tell you, this is how far you are from a 5 or 4-star, this is how far you are from a 5-star. So you constantly know. Because I guess the biggest thing is people don't know, so they just keep spending. And then let's just say you're 5 pity off, right? You're at 85, you're about to get a 90, but you don't know. And let's just say you buy like $100 versus worth of pulls. I mean, granted, it's not going to waste unless you quit the game right after. But, it's like, damn, if I knew I was only 5 away, I might not have spent 100. So this is something that's, to me, indefensible. They should just put this out because it's already in one of the other games. I do the hard work, I go and I count, but it's so fucking annoying.
I can't be the only one who's gone into the wish history and manually counted every single pull.
I have.
Right?
I know I did my part.
Process,
yes.
And it feels unnecessary when the game could just show us that information up front.
Just like Zenless.
Imagine if there was a pity counter built right into the interface.
Wow.
Something simple. Like a little tracker.
Like what's already
exactly
there in their other game. It doesn't make sense. Well, it does if you think of it, because they're fucking greedy.
To hit guaranteed pity.
Thank you.
It would save so much time.
Yes.
And eliminate all the guesswork.
I mean, realistically speaking, it's not that hard to do. Like, it takes like a minute or so. But again, these are for kids where, kids are brain rotted. They don't have like patience. But it's also a thing that should just be there in general because it's an annoyance that doesn't need to be there. But it's not that big a deal. But it kind of is.
If you're like me, you might be wondering how this will affect the experience for us day-to-day players.
It shouldn't.
First off, these changes could mean...
In a bad way. In a bad way, I mean. It should make it better in like every way.
Less game...
The only bad way is Genshin might become more predatory to compensate for people not spending as much. But I don't think this is going to make much of a difference. It will for some people, not for most.
Gamified experience. The thrill of pulling and converting currency may feel different when everything is laid out plainly. Second, finally, the financial aspect of gacha could become less exploitative, but also less exciting.
People love the rush of gambling, and I'm the same way. I love the rush of thinking, oh my god, am I going to get it in the next 10 shot? Am I going to get it? And then I touch my wiener.
With the odds clearly displayed and purchases tied directly to real money, the system might feel less like a game of chance and more like a straightforward transaction. This isn't just about Genshin Impact.
All gachas.
It's about the gaming industry
yes.
as a whole.
'Cause I already went after loot boxes for this shit too, and that's why loot boxes, I believe, were taken out of Overwatch, but that's also when they were a pay-to-play model. So when they went, free-to-play, maybe they had to transition out of loot boxes because of the law, or maybe they just realized a cosmetic shop is just better. So who knows?
Gacha systems are a huge moneymaker.
Oh yeah,
and this
China
ruling
loves them.
could set a precedent for other developers.
It
Games
should.
like Honkai Star Rail,
Yup.
Wuwa,
Uh-huh.
and even console games with
Whoa.
loot box mechanics.
I like how their
might face similar
Arlecchino can't hit the
scrutiny.
fucking enemy,
But
by the
as
way.
a player, I can't help but feel conflicted.
I don't feel
On
conflicted
one hand,
at all.
It's great to see steps being taken.
Because realistically speaking, right, the price is going to probably be absurd if they offer the characters and the weapons just outright. So people are always going to, most people are always going to try and want to get the better deal. They're always going to try and want to get the potentially saving option, even if it means you have to gamble for it.
Protect kids and make the system fairer. On the other hand, part of what makes gacha games so engaging is the suspense and excitement.
And wanting to have a parasocial relationship with your waifu. And, China takes us to the point where they will literally kill for them, as was almost what happened with Dawe.
Will this strip away too much of that? Lastly, I want to clarify that the
Why is Clarind pointing a Glock at us?
information I've discussed is specifically tied to the United States and
Yeah,
recent
so,
FTC
sorry, Asia,
rulings.
you're not changing.
So, when can we expect these changes to roll out?
Please, next
The
patch.
settlement still needs to be approved by a federal judge. But
Okay, so it's going to take a while. For those of you overseas, our court system is terrible. It's very corrupt.
once it's finalized, Hoyoverse will need to act fast to comply.
Or else, and this was kind of my next question, what's the timeline of this? And then, if they don't comply, what is it? Is it a one-time fine of 20 million? Because they'll just honestly eat it. I really feel like they'll eat it. But if it's ongoing fines, which is what they were planning to do to TikTok, then they're going to act. Then you better be sure. You bet your sweet bippy they're going to fucking act.
It's likely we'll see these updates implemented in Genshin and other games within a few months. For now, it's worth keeping an eye on how this plays out.
Damn
Will
straight.
Hoyoverse adapt in a way that keeps players happy
Yes.
while meeting the FTC's demands?
Yes.
Or will this mark a turning point?
This is where it's almost like content creators like me, right? Where we argue, we complain. Well, not really argue. Well, argue with the community. But we complain and we offer like all these talking points, right? And we kind of like shit on Genshin. But the reason and why we shit on Genshin is because we want the game to be better. Everything the FTC is doing, unless Genshin retaliates in a predatory way against us, is for our betterment. Like, this is just straight up, I can't see a negative with this unless it's the company just being more evil. But that's on them, that's on the FTC, right? Like, you can't be punished for doing good. You shouldn't be, at least. So it's almost like what happens again to the content creators where we're yelled at and the fans are like, oh my god, why are you yelling at us? Leave us alone. Why can't we just play our game in peace? Bro, because we're players too and we want this shit to be better for both you and us. But people like wallowing in shit for some reason, and I don't know why.
For gacha games as we know them. Do you think the changes will make Genshin Impact a better
Yes,
game?
yes,
Or do you worry
yes.
it might lose some of its charm?
It probably will lose a little bit of the charm, and it's the same thing that happens in other games like Fortnite. When Fortnite announced that their skins would not be exclusive to the Battle Pass moving forward, and, it would still take 2 years for it to enter the shop, but losing exclusivity is a really big deal for a lot of people, me included. And this is where one of the reasons I'm sure some people play, including me, and especially the whales, is they want to flex on you. They want to show you, haha, they don't really care about the money aspect, but they're like, haha, my character's stronger than yours, you suck, I'm good. Even though it's really not because of skill, it's because of dollar. Or just whatever currency it is. So, it's a really stupid thing. I think it will lose some of its charm because now it might be slightly easier to get characters if you just want to straight out buy them. Now, there has to be some sort of way, like, it's going to be beneficial. So it's like, I can't imagine them putting it as the price of getting to 180, like, hard pity, right? Excuse me. Whatever is the equivalent of 180 hard pity in terms of how many wishes you need to buy, I don't think that's how much the character should cost. The character should cost a little bit under that, because at that point, it's really going to be non-beneficial to buy the character. They could do that if they're really greedy, but I imagine they're going to make it cost a little bit under, so it's a little appealing, because at that point, it's still a guaranteed sale. But most people are going to try and get it through gacha anyway, but we'll see how they do it.
And how do you feel about the $20 million fine?
Good. Fuck
Do you
them.
think it's enough to send a message to developers or just a drop in the bucket?
It's a drop
for
in the
company
bucket.
Like
It really is a drop
Let
in the
me know
bucket.
in the comments.
Oh,
and if you found this video
I love the way
helpful or
Raiden Shogun does her
interesting,
videos,
don't
man.
forget to
It's
like,
so funny with the little like
subscribe, and
chibis.
hit that
Those are just from all the
notification
in-game shit,
bell.
the
Thanks for watching,
stickers.
and I'll see you in the next one.
Also,
Save up to
he is not.
23% on mobile.
Okay, yeah, shut up. He is not clearing. She is not clearing that abyss, man. They are sucking. But yeah, so biggest thing is I'm really glad this is happening. Hoyoverse is getting their just fucking desserts. Fuck them, fucking assholes. But only specifically for the Genshin team, slightly for the Star Rail team. Once they add the counter, that's okay. But, you know, I think all these games should say the actual rates. And, you know, obviously we want to protect the kiddies. You can never run for government if you're never going to do something for the kids. So, you know, kids are very important. But, you know, the only thing I'm curious about is how will this affect their sales, and will they implement the changes in a way that's not more predatory, or will they introduce some other predatory aspect to compensate for maybe the lack of potential sales they're probably going to lose? Is it going to be major sales? I don't think so. But it's definitely going to take probably a small hit at the very least, or at the very most. But I don't see this being a huge thing. They're still going to make oodles of fucking money, and they're never going to reinvest it back into Genshin in a meaningful way. So it is what it is. Either way, I hope everyone enjoyed. I'm live at Twitch TV/Tecnics channel. Come watch me. I'll roll for Mavica soon. And also tell me what you think. This is an interesting topic.